you just make a decision. You just say, fuck this. I'm done. I'm done living like this. I don't care how fucking hard this gets. I don't care what happens externally in my life. If I become homeless because I can't go to work, I have no money coming in. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. If you've made that decision, you go full fucking force into it. And there is no excuse after that. All right, welcome back. To continue this newer kind of series, I'm going to do this video on addiction. Now, not everyone out there has an addiction or has dealt with it personally, but all of us are quite familiar with it through family members or friends or coworkers or whatever. It's very familiar in society. If you haven't dealt with it yourself, you're very familiar with the visual effects in someone else due to addiction. Now, personally, I was addicted to alcohol in my 20s, and I got off of alcohol onto a new addiction, which was kratom. Alcohol obviously is extremely destructive. Kratom, not destructive at all. I completely changed my life. For all intents and purposes, I did extremely well and turned my life around at face value. But I was burying certain things inside myself that were the cause of drinking and then became the cause of the kratom addiction as well. And that perpetuated itself to just taking kratom to bury this emotional, psychological, and spiritual trauma churning in my lower realms. It was literally on a daily basis, very fleeting and few moments in my life for many years where I didn't feel deep, resonating anxiety within my gut area. My lower chakras. That's where I was living from for fucking years, which means you're living from insecurity, you're living from fear, you're living from doubt, you're living at a lower vibration. That's what this area controls. The ego. Egoic characteristics. I was living below the heart. Let's just say that. First of all, let me explain what kratom is if you don't know what it is. It's a tree that grows in the southern Pacific, like Indonesia. It's the leaf off of the tree. Now, it has certain compounds in it that act on the same receptors in your brain as an opiate does. To compare it to Percocet or Vicodin or heroin or fentanyl is a massive error and flaw. It's nowhere fucking near any of that at all. And if anyone out there watching takes kratom, they're probably like, yeah, I'm doing just fine on kratom. Like, it's not on that fucking level. And it's extremely safe. It's extremely safe. It's one of the safest drugs on the planet. People have been using it for thousands of years. There is one confirmed death from kratom, as far as I'm aware, because it's being ruined, because chemists out there are deriving the compound from it and creating some pill in the laboratory, which is extremely concentrated. That's the bullshit fucking pills you see at the gas station, like 7-OH, 7-hydroxymidogrine or whatever it's called. Extremely potent, concentrated, laboratory-made horseshit. That's not kratom. Kratom is a leaf off of a tree. It's been used for thousands of years, and there have been no documented deaths until this laboratory-made horseshit that they're pushing in gas stations. So, but it is extremely addictive. I did it for 9.5 years. And it may not have been a problem so much as you would think on a surface level, or to people in my life, to my spouse, or to my family members. Most people probably didn't even know that I was taking it. Like I said, I completely turned my life around while I was taking it. What it was doing to me was perpetuating the inevitable. I was just burying this fear and anxiety deeper and deeper into myself, and it was just a daily routine of taking this shit to relieve it. Very fleeting, very short term, and then that anxiety comes back more and more and more and more and more, and it just never goes away. Like I said, I was living for years in a lower vibration. So how did I quit? Well, I slowly tapered off. My process, or how I took it, was I pretty much took it every 3 hours for all those years. I tried to keep it at only 3 hours, no less. But I started doing 4 hours one week, 5 hours another week, 6 hours another week, 7 hours another week, 8 hours another week. After 8 hours, I was like, fuck this, I'm done. And one night, I just made a decision, and here we are. And it was absolutely brutal. It is extremely addictive. After 9.5 years, your body is extremely dependent on that shit. It was absolutely brutal. And ironically, I did it at a point where I was in extreme fear, insecurity, and doubt. But I was at least at the point of observing those things. But I did make a decision from, I'm not going to say rock bottom by any means, but I made a decision from a very challenging, difficult, and somewhat dark place. I made that decision, and I stuck to it because I knew I wasn't alone in that. I knew that there was something greater within me, something, a part of me that I could tap into, and I did. I tapped into my soul. I tapped into my consciousness. I tapped into my heart. I meditated every morning. I started observing what I was feeling. I didn't fucking sleep for days. I didn't even begin to sleep normally for after a month, about the 5th week in. It was fucking brutal. The one thing about opiates is you have restlessness. Your muscles get restless. You're just moving around. You are extremely uncomfortable. No sleep. It was brutal. But I stayed to the path because I knew what was inside myself. I believed in something greater. And, talking to anyone who's gotten through an addiction before, I'm sure you can relate. Like, tapping into something that you visually, sensually, you don't even know that it's there. You just kind of have to believe. And then 1 week becomes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After a certain point, you've made it. But that's kind of the whole point of this spiritual shit, is not believing everything you see with your senses, not believing everything you hear, not believing all the emotions you feel. And what I mean by that is certain things in the world might spark emotions. Not believing that and not identifying with it allows you to separate yourself from that. You're still going to feel it, but instead of identifying with it and having anxiety and stress and fear, You'll still feel it, but you can separate yourself from that and be like, oh, that's not me anymore. Until it gets out, you're still going to feel it, and there's going to be times where you're going to identify with it, but the point being, once you separate yourself psychologically from that physical emotion, you start to gain a new perspective of yourself. You start to gain new powers. You are tapping into your consciousness. You are tapping into your soul. You are tapping into the collective source, God, whatever you want to call it. That is what you need to believe in when you are going through extremely challenging times. That is how you expand and grow, is putting yourself through extremely challenging times. Looking at what you don't like about yourself, going into it, and getting it the fuck out of you. So, addiction, obviously, that is very common for a lot of people, but you just make a decision. You just say, fuck this. I'm done. I'm done living like this. I don't care how fucking hard this gets. I don't care what happens externally in my life. If I become homeless because I can't go to work, I have no money coming in. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. If you've made that decision, you go full fucking force into it. And there is no excuse after that. That's why believing that you are far greater and far more powerful than you could possibly realize that you've ever been taught in this world, that is so important when you are in challenging, dark, difficult, scary, doubtful times. Knowing that God is there, right here, and you can tap into that and trust it. And it's not easy. It's not fucking easy, I'm going to tell you that. But this isn't even about addiction, really. This is about anything in life that is challenging. Anything in life you are avoiding. What you are avoiding is what you need to look at and go into and deal with. That is self-awareness. What is keeping me from being the greater version of myself? God is within you, and you can tap into that at any point and find something in yourself that you've never felt before. Although in the moment, it may not seem that way. But eventually, in hindsight, where I am right now, looking back at getting through that, I'm like, oh yeah, I really did tap into something really great there. And I didn't give up. And I can only attest that to the strength and willpower of the God that's within all of us. Not to discredit myself, but hey, we're all one. We're all part of this collective consciousness. We can't. The problem with humanity is how egoic we are. We're so proud of everything we do. It's like, a lot of the strength we have comes from something greater than ourselves. I'm not trying to diminish what humans have accomplished. Obviously, you have to make the decision yourself to do the thing. But once you make that decision, a stream of energy and thought and power is coming from something greater than yourself. That is the point. What you are conscious of cannot change until you change your consciousness. You will not change until you change your consciousness. And to do that is challenging. It's difficult, it's scary, and it's dark. But I can assure you, you will be a far more powerful person once you do that. That's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps somebody out there. God bless you guys. And I'll be back real soon.